Our first story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil rock.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think is an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
You're listening to Riff Worship, the podcast that attempts to answer the age-old question, what makes a riff? Why do we care about the riff? All things concerning the riff. I'm here, Austin Paulson, with my co-host, my stooge in music, the big bald hope, the big baldini, Dylan Adams. How are you, bud?
Good, bud. Good, bud. It's a late one.
Yeah, that's all right. They don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't have any windows in here, so they can't fucking see me.
No, I haven't been in the sun in years. I mean, look at me.
I know that about you. We have a fantastic guest today. This is perhaps a member of one of the most unique and coolest rhythm sections in extreme music. They have a new record out now titled Maze Envy. It is out through $20 Spin. We are, of course, talking to drummer extraordinaire Aidan Neuner. How are you, Aidan? How's it going, buddy?
Doing excellent. Glad to be here, you guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the kind words about the rhythm section. Appreciate that. And yeah, excited to talk to y'all.
You're all over this thing. And I appreciate you hopping on. We kind of talked off air. You guys have had a busy spring. You guys have been all over the place. Seattle, San Antonio, Austin Death Fest with some of your label mates. How was that, by the way?
That was unbelievable. It was sponsored by $20 Spin. It was also sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon, which was a nice little perk. They took care of everyone, a bunch of homies, so many people from $20, Phobophilic, Tomb Mold, Mortiferum, like, oh my goodness. We've played with a lot of those guys before, but just the fest was so well organized. Everything just ran smoothly. The sound was phenomenal. Unbelievable sets. I was a little bummed we weren't there for Saturday. We did the San Antonio date because I think Saturday was even more $20 Mall and Lunar Chamber, and we got to meet those guys. They were some of the nicest guys there. So that was a blast. And then we came home and we did San Diego with Althar, who, again, $20. And they were phenomenal, man. What a band. Yeah.
You got a show. Well, actually, I guess when this airs, you've already played with Wayfarer. And,
yes, tomorrow.
I'm sure you played great. You killed it. You know, this has come out a week after, but man, what a show. You played amazing.
Yeah, it was a blast. Love playing Knucklehead Hollywood. Shout out Alvin. Love that spot.
Did I see that? Did it rain while you were in Austin as well?
It did.
Yeah.
We were worried it was going to storm all day, and we got there. It was pouring while we were loading in, and then it stopped, of course. And then we played, and it started again, and then it stopped. So I guess the rain was. They knew that we were the moody band. They're like, we need the rain for these guys, and then give everyone else the sun. Yeah. It was cool. It was really cool. It looked like it was hailing in a lot of the videos, and my friends back home were like, what the fuck? I thought you were in Texas. I was like, yeah. But yeah, what a blast, man. Awesome fest.
With the record being out, I mean, I know it's been kind of a build. It's out there. It's like a few weeks now. How's it feel, man? How's it feel it's out in the world? People can listen to it. You've been playing some of the songs live and everything.
Yeah, I don't want to say like a weight off the shoulders, because it wasn't necessarily like a stressful weight, but there's just waiting when it's already done. I always forget the exact dates. I did the drums like almost 2 years ago now. Which is, to me, is crazy, because now we've played this live so many times. I'm like, oh, I would do this different. I would do this different.
Right.
But it's out there finally. And everyone that worked on it did such an amazing job. The production, Andrew made us sound amazing. Kevin as well as Steakhouse Studios. That was just a great experience. We did drums first and then everything else. And it took a little while, just the process. And then obviously like the then 20 Buck had their lineup already gone, and then pressings and whatnot. So, but it's awesome to have it out there. The reception has been kind of surreal for me. For most of us, we're kind of blown away. There's a lot of progressive stuff, the strings and whatnot. A few of us have like jazz backgrounds, and some of us are one of our lead guitarists. We don't really have a lead in a rhythm. They both just share. He doesn't really have a metal background. He's into metal now, and he listens to a lot of really good shit that influences like the death doom side and whatnot. But he comes from a really cool melodic background, so that really shines through on this album. But yeah, people are loving it. The Fantano review was crazy. That we were just like, what the fuck? I was actually at a health show, and I had no service, and I was getting the group chat messages so I could see the notification, but I couldn't click anything. And Drew, our bass player, was just like, it's out. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is it? What did he give us? Is it a red flannel? Is it a yellow flannel? So that was cool. We're not really guys that like normally care about people's opinions. And even him, we were just hyped he was a fan. Because I've just watched him for so long, not because of his opinion, but I just find new music through him. We kind of are in the same realm of tastes. He's always had some metal stuff. I like the pop shit he does. So I don't know. That was really cool because I hope a lot of people are able to find us through that. And so far it seems that way. Yeah, it's been crazy.
Seeing him sport the long sleeve too was
that was cool.
Yeah, come on, dude.
We sent him a package, and I was like, yes, dunking on Taylor Swift while wearing the Civerous shirt. We're like, that's on brand. Yeah,
couldn't have been better. I like what you said though, where just doing some research, guys, you have a guitarist who has a pretty well-rounded college education in like jazz music. I've heard from interviews yourself where like you also have been, taking drum lessons for a long time. You're also very much from a hardcore background as well. Isaiah, he listens to like really deep underground death metal, but also loves like R&B and rap music. And so it kind of made me think, I'm like, man, this record could have only been made by these people. Like all of these influences, like there's a million bands out there that they are like fully like, yep, that's all I get. It's just fully aggressive, like in your face. I feel like I get all of the influences that you're talking about here from the jazz. Like it made for like a very unique and really just refreshing listen, I think.
Hell yeah. That was the word we were going with, was refreshing.
Yeah.
Because we all love death metal, man. The staples. I think some of the guys are they're the Morbid Angel side. I'm the Suffocation side because I come from the East Coast. And goddamn, it's really cool seeing a lot of bands do that sound and keep it alive. But at the same time, what's the next new thing that we can merge? I'm a huge fan of the Armed. I don't know if you guys have heard of that band.
Yeah.
Kind of started as a hardcore band, always been like a weird amorphous collective kind of thing, and they're one of the bands that I always use as a frame of reference for blending different styles. Because it's one thing to like have all these different subgenres as a label, right? And you've got a section of black metal and a breakdown and a section of doom metal and whatever. But to actually have some of those parts working simultaneously, I think that's where you get the cutting edge, like the new ideas that really gets people, lights a fire under people's asses again. So I don't know. Hearing you say that, it's funny. Code Orange just did like one of those Audio Tree interview things.
Oh, sure.
And regardless of what you think of the band, they've been together since they were like 13. And they make a really good point where like only that band could morph in that way because of their influences and their relationships. And compared to all the other bands I've been in, I've never been in a band that was a bad experience, right? But this is the best experience I've ever had because it just gels and we're open to those different influences. I don't know. We didn't really know where we wanted to land with a lot of the writing. We kind of were just going and we were ripping parts and repiecing and being like, this fits better with this melodic section and whatnot. So, yeah, very happy with where we ended up.
I'm glad it has been such a great experience because, on paper, in the grand scheme of things, you've really only been in the band for, a few years at this point. So it must have clicked very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm the newest one. I'll never forget showing up to practice. I was so scared. I thought they were all like in their 40s, like some just death metal dudes. Because I had only heard the music. I didn't even like see their promos somehow. And if I saw that, Alonzo always looks like he's 15. That's the joke. But I showed up and Isaiah was just like this giant teddy bear, and I was like, oh, okay. And then yeah, he starts playing Chief Keef, and I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I like this. And yeah, it just gelled. It was right after COVID as well. So I think we were all itching to get back to like some type of rehearsing in person. So we just went like full steam ahead, and we have a great spot in Whittier where we're able to just do the full band thing, chill all night. Yeah, it's nice.
How did the connection form? Was it through Andrew? Because I know he's been with the band kind of for a little bit, and he also produced a hardcore record that you'd put out previously.
Yes. So I think, I don't know, he might correct me on this. I think my hardcore band was the first band that he did everything.
Okay.
I remember that started during COVID, but my friend's mom had a clothing store in Boyle Heights, and we would go there when the store would close and just move the clothes racks and set up. And we wrote everything during that. He came out to the store. I have pictures of him on a ladder just setting up mics on clothing racks. And we did that. And then I was also in a shoegaze band, Sueños, who's still active. They're killing it as well. And we worked with Andrew for them. And during that session, he was recording DFR, Decrepit Flesh Relic. And he showed me like the mix. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I think he showed me Hubiku, where it has the insane kind of like Lev Tomb, the really slow breakdown into the fast blast. And I was like, I've never heard this. And Isaiah's vocals really stood out to me. And I think that was him planting the seed. And then later on, when they needed a new drummer, he was like, film a tape, send it to them. I did that, and they were all like, who the fuck is this kid? And that was it. So I'm the most recent. It was 2022, I think, like January, February, I joined. Yeah.
When I listened back to that Helldweller release, I was like,
oh, hell yeah, man.
I was like trying to see maybe the not necessarily progression, but I'm like, I want to at least familiarize myself with like the world that you come from and the previous releases that you're on. I'm like thinking, okay, going to be a hardcore record, right? And I'm like, and I don't mean this in a bad way about anyone else on the record. The thing that stuck out to me the most was the drumming. It's like kind of the focal point of a lot of it from the gate. I mean, I'm like, man, you're blasting. There's a lot of like fun double bass stuff on that. I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense why this would like work in this completely different band. And I wonder, too, and Dylan and I were kind of talking about this off air, is like, okay, you have a band that has a record out and some demos out. They have a little bit of history underneath and you've heard some stuff. How do you come in and maybe not necessarily, change, like how do you stay true to what Civerous had done, but also maybe bring in kind of like a fresh, your own take on it, right?
Exactly. And it's funny you say that. First of all, thank you for checking out that Helldweller EP. That thing was a blast to make. And yeah, I've always been teetering the line of hardcore and metal, specifically with my playing. Because I started listening to hardcore, but then I got the double bass pedal and I was like, oh, I gotta play metal. Because hardcore has that stuff, just metal is like known for that. And I don't know, like the first song I learned was Herodocy. And I was very much like, their big complaint, I think, was they wanted it to sound like it did on the record when we were live, right? So I was just focusing on like all the big hits, all the transitions. They have that really slow section at the end. You don't want to miss any of those hits, blah, blah, blah. And I did a bunch of takes. I was kind of beating myself up over it. But once I got into the band and we kind of got into a groove and stuff, they realized I was doing things that were on the album that they hadn't heard like live before. And they were like, oh, that's cool as shit. So they started giving me a little more liberty. Where even Alonzo one time was like, hey, you don't necessarily do the same fill here every time. And I was like, no, I just do the same timing. But sometimes live, I like to just change the fills like that because improv is just part of music and I love it. I don't know. I think to me that keeps it interesting to play, right? You're hitting the familiar sections, all the unison hits you've got to hit. But if you're doing a certain odd time fill and there's a lot going on, no one's going to notice if you do a different fill. Have fun with it, right? I love that. And that's the natural performance aspect. And I think these guys are very much dialed into that. A lot of them performed as dancers growing up.
Yeah.
So Isaiah specifically, him and Alonzo, I think even Daniel at some point, but they did like folklorico, Mexican folk dance. And that's why he's just such a presence on stage, which I love. And I have to do my best to perform behind them because I'm like, these guys are going in, man. Yeah.
I love the pictures of like, I've not seen you live yet. But hey, looking forward to it when you come through the Chicagoland area. It's going to be great. Fucking the chain like is so like,
he brought it back.
So beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. There's been some very funny stories about the chain. It went away for a little while and we brought back, I think, a smaller chain. And so far it's been working. But yeah, we always joke. We're like, look at this motherfucker. He's casting spells. Dude. Like, yeah, it's a blast. It's a blast. All the guys are very much into like before Mohawk, Alonzo was like, today's the day to fucking perform, baby. And we were like, okay, all right, you're right. And I think that energy, there's just on stage with these guys, there's always a tangible energy. We're always looking at each other. We don't use a click. So all the transitions, we just have to like either feel or we have them timed in our heads. But yeah.
I was going to say, you brought that up. You're a goddamn animal, man. I heard you recorded all your parts in one day. No click or nothing?
One day, no click, guitars played live in the control room.
Dylan, have you ever done that? You've recorded no click or anything?
Really early on, like first band maybe, like when you're going in, you kind of learn it. I mean, that was 20 years ago almost too. But man, that is interesting. That adds more to the feel of the record too. It gives it that kind of natural swing, right? You know, like recording with a click is fine. Like, yeah, it's kind of a standard, but when you have the groove with the right musicians and you're tight enough that you can get in there in the studio. And then the drummer's like, all right, I got this. No problems, no click. Got it. You know, there's always going to be a little bit of that kind of movement with time anyway, but it's just, it's such a cool fucking vibe to just record with no click and have that natural kind of feel.
Absolutely. There's so many parts, specifically like Gary on, I think. There's also a few fills I do in Labyrinth, Charm, and Shrouded where we're purposely slowing down time through those fills. So being able to do that with the guys live, just like we're at practice, that was to me the most natural way. And it's funny, up until like 2 weeks before going into the studio, we were planning on doing a click. We had graphed everything out. They had done pre-pro guitars, so I was just gonna have those in my ears. And it was Andrew's idea to be like, I don't think you guys need it. He came to a practice and he told me, and he and I have that relationship from Helldoors. So I was like, okay, I'm cool with it. I don't think they're gonna fight. And it took a bit of convincing. And then the day of, everyone was like, okay, this is sick. This is the way to do it. Because I would love to do an album every different way. I've always done a click before this. I'd love to do the one big room with the sound walls where you're in the same room performing. And it's just, this is what we had the opportunity to do. Steakhouse is an amazing spot. I think the funniest one they said was recorded there was like Limp Bizkit. But huge drum room, and Kevin just gave me access to everything. I brought my snare. He was like, I mean, I have the bell brass. I was like, okay, this is going back in the car. Yeah, it was awesome. So that was a lot of, I think that contributes to a lot of the natural energy. Definitely specifically on the Lab Charm, because that's the most intense like section of like technical drumming I have. And being able to do that live with the guys and get the energy from them, like seeing them headbang in the room, that just like, sometimes you get that drummer second wind, you're like dying on the blast and you see something and you're like, okay, we're good. Yeah, it just was able to bring out the best performance in me, I think.
So you played the whole album, correct, in Seattle?
Yes, at Disemboweled God Fest. Awesome fest. Shout out Freiberger for putting that together. Satanic Royalty. The nicest fucking guy, dude. Awesome fest. Some of the same bands like Mortiferum was there. Yeah, that was awesome. Seattle's a great city. They always show out for us because we did the Decrepit Flesh Relic release up there as well. That was at Bar House, which I don't think is around anymore. But this one was at Belltown Yacht Club. Super sick, like basement spot. They've just got the whole ceiling covered in vinyls and shit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw some.
Really
I saw
cool.
some pictures from that. I'm curious, like having, played through the album live. Is there a song that, maybe a 2-part question here? Is there a song that's your favorite to play live? Is there a song that is like, oh fuck, this one's coming up, but we're just gonna push through it and get, do the thing? Maybe it's both.
Okay.
I don't know. Whatever.
Okay. Levitation 2 might be the most fun because of the breakdown. And we just got a Roland SPD that I am now using 808s on for
Sick.
that.
Hell yeah.
And Texas was the first time using that, and it was hitting. Normally I was saying this all weekend. Normally Alonzo, he's on stage and he'll turn around for like transitions, but he's always locked in, like no expression. And this time he was just grinning like fucking a little kid in a candy store. I was like, this is beautiful. So it's tough because I think one of my favorite parts, well, that's also in Lev Tomb. I do like a double ride thing, but I only have a hi-hat, so I do that. Shrouded is fun for me because I have a little drum break that I've started to get a little more liberal with, take some more time, break time a little weirder. Labyrinth is kind of the one like, oh shit, cool it down, don't burn yourself out. Thankfully it's early, and then but I finished that song and I'm like, oh, we're like only halfway, baby, we still got amazing. The last 2 songs are half the set.
They're good. I mean, I'd say you could have almost been like, hey, here's 2 songs, like those 2 songs alone, like I love it for that. I like putting the work in because obviously there's so much to this record and so many layers, but those last 2 songs were like, it ties such a nice bow on the record. And, it makes me think like talking about feel and, making it sound organic, where you have like, especially in those last 2 songs where it's more, the guitars are like more sustained and sparse, where you're really able to kind of go ham. I'd imagine, again, and this maybe lends to you guys kind of hitting it off really well. Seems like they really kind of like trusted you hey, you know how to play drums, like please, by all means.
Honestly, they gave me there were some parts, like mostly blast beat sections where we knew it was going to be a blast. They would just help suggest like which subdivision to do or something like that. But they just let me go. And I was like, this is sick. Because I've been in a few bands where it's like one dude's vision, and that's fine. I don't mind doing that. It's a different experience. But this, I was like, ooh, I get to write now, like for real. Like this is what I never really got to write a full record of drum parts before. So first I was like, how do I do this? And then I was like, oh, you just fart shit out until something sticks, man. And whoa. I was talking to Julian about this, and he actually inspired a lot of the playing on this. Julian, he plays in a million bands. Most recently, I saw him with Mortiferum again. And he does these insane flam hits. That motherfucker just hits the drums, and it sounds like someone is falling down the stairs in the best way. And Gary on, I was like, we're calling the song Gary on the Plummet. I'm like, someone's falling down the stairs, man. So I just fucking live, I belt into those flam hits that I do on the record.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, the falling down the stairs, because as I was prepping for my review, I did absolutely Home Alone 2. Like, I was like, it's like a tool chest going down a flight of stairs, like 100%. I was like, fuck,
my
yes.
God.
So that is so satisfying to hear.
Yeah, that's like sometimes I listen to the album and I'm like, Maze Envy could have been the closer because of the way that those strings resolve at the end. But I think Gary On is really the like summation of everything that came before it. And I think like lyrically and emotionally, it's the most intense song. So I think it just works as the closer. And yeah, it's meant to be like, okay, you're in the center of the maze, go down the hole. Who knows? Do you stop falling? Whatever. Yeah, it's kind of your interpretation. But Isaiah did some really cool lyrical work. Even me reading it, I was like, what the fuck? Where'd you get this from, dude?
I was digging, man. I was like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to read like Dante's Inferno to like,
yeah,
which I'm totally that kind of guy where I'd be like, I've never, I'm not much of a reader, but like sometimes a song can really like get you into something where, he was talking about the Azure Eye. And I was like, listening to him discuss like, oh yeah, in typical like literature, like the devil was portrayed as blue and not red. I was like, what are you talking? What? They're like, who is this guy reading? Like, what is he's digging for all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That blew me away. I was at his house one time. I was like, how? I did not know you were so into Dante. And he was like, I love that shit. And that was it. We never spoke at it again, but I was like, okay, dude. Because I never actually read the book. I played the video game.
Oh, dude.
Yes.
Wow, holy shit.
Which just awesome artwork. Yeah.
That was crazy. It kind of reminded me of I don't know if it was around the same, like Contra. Like it was so fucked up looking. I remember fighting like Cleopatra or something in that game.
Yeah,
like,
the lost lady with like people coming out of her.
Things coming out of nipples and stuff like that, man. Yeah,
exactly.
Oof.
That's the Inferno. Yeah. You might pass that when you're falling through the maze.
There you go.
There's that great feeling, as you said, of like, you don't know what's at the bottom of the maze. It's that great feeling of just emptiness, of just blackness, just bleak. Nothing's there. It's perfect.
And depending on like what is in your interpretation of the maze, that could be a relief, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I like that they kind of left it ambiguous, but that everyone's taken these cool interpretations. Someone on Twitter, Drew, showed me everyone was like loving the artwork, and someone compared it to the labyrinth in what the hell is it? Hellraiser.
Yeah,
Hellraiser.
Dylan said, Dylan, It was like,
I think it was you in the review. You pulled up the picture of the white labyrinth.
Yeah, we put a little edited in there or whatever.
And I was like, we didn't go for that, but I'm going with it now. I love that. I was like, that's cool as shit, man. It's I don't know. He just disappeared and he came back with all those lyrics, and we were at the studio and I was reading his booklet. I was like, this is awesome. This is cool as fuck. Because hardcore lyrics, no offense to hardcore, but they are what they are. They're a little simple. I like hey, build a whole story, dude. It's something like that. Hardcore lyrics are a little more personal struggle stuff. I think he was able to do that and then reflect that in this story, in this like fantasy setting, which is very death metal, very, yeah, you know, we're all fucking nerds here.
I think there's a like a stage for everything like that for sure. There's like definitely the you know, kind of more literary elements, and then like if you want to get really fucking caveman and like ooga booga with it, you definitely can for sure.
Absolutely. And that's why I love so much of this stuff. Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe let's talk about that. Where did that love come from? Maybe you said you're from the East. Where are you from? How'd you grow up?
I'm originally from Bethel, Connecticut. It's in the tail end of Connecticut. I have family from New York and Florida, so all up and down the East Coast. And you guys are in Chicagoland?
So I'm from the suburbs out west, and Dill's just north of Nashville. So
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So I lived in Connecticut until I was 18, and then I went to school in Chicago at DePaul.
Blue Demons.
Hell
yeah,
Blue
let's do
Demons.
it.
Fucking worst basketball team in the Big East.
100%.
And it did every year. Oh, it'll be different. Same thing this year. My mom's like, they got a new coach. It'll be different. I'm like, no, it will not.
Same thing with every fucking.
We'll say that.
From the college to the fucking, professional team. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Oh, we'll get them next year. Yeah. But yeah, I was there for 4 years. That, funny enough, that was actually a time where I did not play a lot of drums. College apartments, I was in a dorm the first year, so I was that dude at Guitar Center. Shamelessly, I was there like once a week. All the whole rotating staff knew me by name. And I wasn't able to like ever join any bands there. That's probably the city I went to the most shows in.
Okay. Any memory, like favorite places to see a show, favorite bands you saw?
Sub T, Bottom Lounge, Metro, probably my top three. I've gone to some other ones, some bigger ones, but Sub T specifically had such a grip on the metal scene when I was there. Bottom Lounge as well. Really great memory of getting kicked out of the Bottom Lounge one time.
What show was that?
It was my friend's 21st birthday. It was Napalm Death and Black Dahlia Murder.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
And this is like 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Wow.
And we like get in. I literally go get a beer, and my friend hadn't turned 21 yet. It was the next day, so he had the X's. Literally, can you hold this? Take off my hoodie, and security just started pushing him to the door because he had a beer in his hand. We were there for like 5 minutes, didn't see either band. I was like, oh man. Thankfully, they didn't recognize me. I was back the next week for I think like Circa Survive or something.
Sick.
But Sub T, I'm a sucker for early Lorna Shore, man. I love that band. They come from the East Coast. They're from Jersey. I used to see them in like 2012 at like some student centers because I would be visiting my aunt in Jersey and they would be playing. And then I've run into Austin at shows over the years. He's a crazy drummer. Regardless if you like their shit or not, crazy drummer. I'm not huge on the new stuff, the Pain Remains thing, the TikTok song that went viral. I like the album that they don't like, so they never play it anymore. They're like, we're literally never playing anything from Psalms again. But they were a huge influence on me. I grew up a Warped Tour kid, so I played a lot of that stuff when I was self-taught. That was a really good, honestly, a really good basis for like syncopated double bass stuff. Just getting your hands doing a groove and then doing some weird shit with the feet. Great exercise. August Burns Red is great for that. Matt Griner's a really fucking solid drummer.
Man, I want to say I had there was like a shirt they had. It always I had a lot of friends that listened to that band. They had
some of that merch.
They had like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rip of like the Shredder just playing a guitar on the back, and it was like August Burns Red in the fucking like TMNT font.
Oh my
and I'll
God.
never I always associate that band with that fucking shirt.
That is an era of merch for sure.
Dude, yeah, the archaic, the gold foil.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
I had the Animosity hoodie.
Oh,
I had that.
That's real. That's real shit.
We fucking
yeah.
ran. Who's the motherfucker in Entheos that we ran into while
Is
you
it
were wearing the?
Naveen?
Oh no, this was just a handful of years ago. Austin and I went to a Thai place, and I'm in like a reissue Animosity sweatshirt or something, and like Evan Brewer's in there, and I was like, son of a bitch. Like immediately, like getting looks from him, I'm just like, all right, fuck. Like this is I'm in this type of situation.
But he, you know, he was nice.
He
like,
had the hoodie on too.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. That band and Entheos. Entheos is a huge influence for me.
Naveen is a killer drummer.
Naveen's drumming is
A good rider in general.
Exactly. I couldn't believe how good the new stuff is when he took over guitar writing. But his fills, he does a lot of linear work. I've always been curious, and one time I finally set up, he does that floor tom on the left.
Yeah.
And it just opens you up to so much creative shit. I love that. Yeah, I'm trying to think who the big ones are for me. I was big into like straight rock for a really long time. And then like when I hit puberty, like 13, 14, I was like, okay, some of these songs are too slow. That was pure hardcore. Like mostly old hardcore, like Bad Brains, Gorilla Biscuits.
Perfect. I mean, shit, you come from a very, you know, Connecticut
rich area.
You know,
can you see the Misfits up there?
There you go.
They are. There they are.
Hell yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, what? Youth of Today, Connecticut, Hatebreed.
Youth of Today, Hatebreed. That the joke was always Hatebreed is all we got. I'm not a straight edge guy, so I never really resonated with the posy stuff. I love the music.
Sure.
Like I have Gorilla Biscuits records. But yeah, that part of it, I have so many homies that are straight edge, so it's nothing but respect. And it's such a beautiful, I don't think there's any other community like that in music anywhere. The hardcore community, it is so special and unique, and if you participated in it, you know, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So that stuff, I wasn't able to find that scene. I listened to a shit ton of LA bands, Trash Talk. The big New York one for me that finally broke through was like Mind Force. I have some of their early stuff, and they're fucking killing it right now. But a lot of that stuff, and then that led into like the metalcore led into deathcore, and the hardcore stayed there, and then metal just went crazier. I was on Bandcamp all in college, finding new slam bands, tech death, whatever. Trying to think who my big ones are. I love Inner Arma, and they're not necessarily tech, but they are so unique. That new record is unbelievable. Definitely in my album of the year contender. Right now I'm trying to think who some of my biggest influences. Candy, an amazing hardcore band right now, blending like some cool noise and industrial shit in there, and they do the thing I was talking about earlier. They just hit you with everything at once. And for some people, it's too abrasive. I get it, but I love it. I love being scared when I put on my headphones and they do a brain drill on a riff, and I'm like, holy shit.
Love the last Relapse record. I'm looking forward to the next one for sure.
Yeah, the singles have been good. Singles have been good.
Well, you know, I'm curious, with, you know, this talk of like being more into maybe some of the classic stuff and then finding maybe more extreme music. What was perhaps like the first record you ever got, and then whether it's heavy or non, and then, or maybe like, what's maybe a record that you found that was like, okay, this is like my record. This is like something that isn't my parents, or my parents don't listen to.
Okay. So funny enough, the first record I ever got, I didn't buy it. I was given it by a friend, and it was Collection 2. Actually, he gave me 2 at once. He gave me that and Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death. So he gave me 2 compilations, and I was off and running. And I was like, I am done with my parents' classic rock. That is too slow. And then the first record I bought was, again, it was 2 at once. It was Gorillaz, self-titled, and then Iron Maiden, These Colors Don't Run, the one with the tank on it, the military one, just because it was like 2006, and that's what had come out. I was literally 11 in the Borders, which is RIP Borders, where you could scan the CDs. So I scanned it and I was like, whoa, I never heard this before. Because my parents did not do metal. My dad liked Tool and Rush, and I got him into the Deftones somehow, but he doesn't really do metal. So I scanned that at Borders and I was like, they're letting me spend my $20. I'm getting what I want. I want this. Also, the art was cool for an 11-year-old. I was like, oh, there's a tank on it, dude. And that was huge because then I discovered Nico's drumming, and I was just like, whoa. Even on that record, which is not that great, but then there was no streaming, so I was on LimeWire. Like, does anyone have Iron Maiden? And someone did. Someone had the full discog, and they sent it to me. And it could have been a Trojan or whatever, but it was actually Killers and it's all that shit. I was just like, oh my god, my brain is open now.
The computers that I have destroyed.
Oh my god.
Because I had after that, I was really into like 80s, not hair metal. I always hated hair metal, but like anything Iron Maiden adjacent, Judas Priest. And then I got really into like war metal and some weird symphonic stuff like Manowar. And I look back on that, I'm like, what was I doing, man? But it helped me get to where I am. So I'm like, I was 13. Everyone's having a rough go at it at that point. My rough thing was Manowar. And I came out the other side in thrash. So I've like morphed through all these genres and had like a phase in each, and now I just listen to them all. One of the bands, I think the first band that like blew my fucking mind, and I really was like, there's nothing like this, was Car Bomb. I'm trying to think what year Centralia came out. Was that 2007?
You may be right.
I hope I am. Otherwise, I'm gonna look like an idiot. Centralia, 2007.
There you go.
Because I had a local record store. It's still to this day probably one of my top 5 stores on the planet. It's called Disc and Dat. It's run by 2 guys that originally were in New Fairfield, Connecticut. And they've been there so long that my dad was going there in high school. And he still goes there and knows them. But they had a really tiny metal corner. And it was mostly shit like Manowar, Exodus, Metallica, whatever. Which I was like, I heard that already. And one day I just remember the Centralia cover, and that it was in a batch with Xenophilic Carnage. And some guy had like taken a piece of paper and taped it to the cover, and he wrote his like own track by track review.
Oh, perfect.
Like, dated it like something 2007. And I was like, I can't see the album art, but he said it's really cool and I'm gonna check it out. And I picked it up and I put that shit in my CD player at home, and I thought it was broken. Because they're so weird and they do all those laser sounds. Back then it wasn't as crazy as like Meta and the new stuff, but still I think like Gum Under the Table is on that one, and I was like, what is happening? Because those drums, and they don't use a click, and I was like, that's impossible. So that changed everything for me, because I was like, I want this stuff now, the like boundary pushing, like extreme stuff. So they obviously led me right back to Meshuggah, and which as a drummer also, I think that's why those bands and math rock like just was boom. That was like the accelerator, because I was like, this is all rhythm based music first that then they're applying melodies to after the fact. Because Elliot writes all of the Car Bomb shit. So I'm like, this is drummer's brain. And I'm like, that's why my brain is like, yes. So yeah, that was the band that really I just rocked my world.
Fuck yeah. First show you ever went to? First concert?
Oh God. Technically Woodstock. My parents took me when I was 3. I don't know what they were fucking thinking.
Whoa.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
The 99 Woodstock.
I think it was 98. They always tell me it was 98, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
I mean, in any context,
but in any
it's
context,
it's pretty
yeah.
crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah, they had a 3-year-old at a Woodstock, and there's
Man,
a picture of me.
You were fucked
just
out of the
on a-
gate, man. You
Literally, I
didn't
was
stand a
like-
chance.
They were like, you don't remember, but you saw Pete Townsend, and I'm like, what? Does that count if I don't remember? But the first one that my dad like took me to was Green Day. Because they had a CD room. So when I started really getting into stuff, I would just take their CDs and throw them in and see what it was. And I just went by coolest covers. So I found the Police through that. My dad got me into Foo Fighters, Green Day, REM, all that shit. But Green Day, yeah, it was like Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, big show. And I was like, this is cool.
What year would that have been?
2008.
Okay. This is like
20th century breakdown, 21st century breakdown era.
No, still, I think
still
before
American Idiot?
that, still think American Idiot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid tour to see him on.
Yeah. They played like a lot of Insomniac. They played like King for a Day and shit. Because I was very into Kerplunk and yeah, Insomniac, the one with Armitage Shanks right off the bat with that Tom groove.
Insomniac slept on. Like, that's a slept on record. That is a great dark record.
Everyone loves Dookie, but I think that one and Nimrod might actually be my favorite. I love Nimrod as well. That was the first one. And then my parents were great about this because they were both musicians. So they started, we didn't have a lot of like local venues. We had this one spot called the Heirloom Arts Theater in Danbury, Connecticut. I was lucky enough that my dad would take me there. I had some friends in high school that would take me there because a lot of my friends were not into music the same way. I had to like beg people for months, like, oh, if you get a guitar, we can start a band and sound like these dudes that you like. And they were like, okay. And they got it. And then it never happened. So I was always looking for the scene and I just couldn't find it on my own. And I found some friends that were in a band later in high school. And I played like with one group there, but I didn't really start being able to form bands until LA, which was like 2017. So I've played with a lot of like jazz bands and done a lot of gigging. That was the main thing in Connecticut. There was a music teacher in our town. He ran a few spots and that's fun. I like that stuff. Alonzo, our guitarist, does that a lot. He does a lot of jazz gigging on bass and stuff.
You guys ever play together?
Not yet. I am honestly not as good as I need to be to play with that kid. He plays with fucking one of the dudes that I look up to. He plays with Forrest from Covet. Forrest Rice, insane drummer, and he has a project called Wolfie. And Alonzo and his college friend are now his live band. And even Alonzo was like, dude, I was lost at practice. They lost me. I was like, guys, you have to record this and to send it to me because I literally don't know what's happening. And I'm like, hey, that's how you make us feel at Civerous practice. You've come full circle now. You understand?
That's beautiful.
Because he's already got LP3 riffs, and
we're
Oh
like, hey,
shit! Oh goddamn!
Slow down. And of course, the first one he gives me, he's like, okay, you're gonna do a 7 in 5 while we play this. And I'm like, you can fuck off with that, dude. It's crazy. He's ready to go. So I think Austin specifically, like, just being able to see so many of our peers and like finally see them perform, and some of those guys have inspired me. So to be able to see that, and like, it just was like, okay, we can get there. We gotta just hunker down again and do it again, and see what comes out. Because I've said it before, and like coming in from the outside, looking in a little bit, I think this record was the guys like really honing their sound. Because when I joined, they were just like, have you ever listened to Spectral Voice? And I was like, no. And they were like, okay, go listen to that. That's what we want to sound like. And I was like, Okay,
I mean,
cool.
not a bad little guy there, but yeah,
No,
that's
not at all. My brain did not do Death Doom. I did the opposite. I was the punk and power violence guy. I like the short songs. So I was like, I guess I gotta listen to this for them. And I was like, whoa. And then it's funny because I've listened to some drone and some sludge, but I never took the like funeral, Death Doom. I don't know. I was like, damn, these songs are long, man. But now we're writing them, and I'm like, yeah, it's fun. It's a journey. And being able to like start a song and have motifs and things that reoccur within that is really cool. Because yeah, we didn't go in with the intention of like a concept album. Some people have asked about that. I think it just we were in a groove and we were just writing stuff that was like not biting off other songs, but a similar kind of thematic, like overarching just idea. And it ended up being pretty coherent, or cohesive, same, whichever way.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's, like you said, very thematic. It plays out like, like a roller coaster, like a journey, like you said. And, definitely we kind of mentioned it with the Hellraiser thing. It's very cinematic, which I definitely wanted to touch on too. It kind of makes sense for your life journey. I mean, you found like a whole nother career life in sound editing, which, kind of reading up on that a little bit is so cool. Is that kind of how you ended up in LA in general, like to do that work?
Yes. My goal, I went to school for digital cinema, concentration in sound. So they were teaching me sound design, dubbing, voiceover recording, Foley work. And I came out here. I actually did my DePaul offered a LA quarter because like all the business kids and the accountant, whatever they want to do, study abroad, and all the film kids are like, just send me to LA. Because Chicago does have an amazing scene now. It's blown up. But LA is LA,
Sure.
It's
I mean,
Hollywood.
I like certainly like going to movies downtown. I mean, like I'm sure you probably found yourself maybe at a matinee at like
dude,
the Music Box
the
or something.
Music Box. I miss it, man.
Wow,
That
that's
place
so wonderful.
was awesome. Yeah, I saw Hateful Eight Roadshow there.
It's funny you say that. I know he has like maybe they reused some of his parts in it, but like they had for my birthday when Ennio Morricone like weekend thing there. I got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. With my brother.
Cool.
So great. It's such a special place, man.
That's the one thing I love because I'm a movie buff. That's why I wanted to work in film. But yeah, DePaul did that LA quarter, and you had to get an internship or two. And I interned at a place, and they offered me a spot. So I went. They were nice enough that they let me go back, do another semester. Flew out here, and it's been 7 years. Yeah.
I just kind of, it's so cool to even think like, damn, I got like an IMDb page and here's like all my credits. That's like so sick.
Yeah, that's now my resume, which is kind of funny to me. But
that's beautiful. You got like, it seems like maybe it's a lot of like documentary kind of work.
Yes.
I saw Mary Tyler Moore. You did the Tom Brady doc.
Yeah, Man in the Arena. Yep.
Yeah, wild. Thoughts on I know you're a big cinema guy. Are you a fan of the 80 for Brady? Is that on your list at all? Like,
yeah, I am. Here's the thing.
Did you watch it?
I did. I was not a Tom Brady fan because I grew up there, and my third grade teacher got me to be an Eagles fan because I didn't really care. And that upset everyone that I knew because they're all Patriots fans. And I was like, I don't get it. The Patriots are boring. Tom Brady's weird.
Yeah.
And I had this weird inner hatred for Tom Brady because I think he represented a lot of that I was trying to get away from there. And then I worked on that show and I'm seeing all this awesome footage and I'm like, he's kind of sick. He's kind of the greatest of all time. Yeah. And I was like, damn, okay. So yeah, I did watch the 80 for Brady actually after I worked on Man in the Arena. I was like, I'll watch it. Let's see. And yeah, what a prolific sports career. But I love working on that stuff. The docs are cool because I always get to learn about something that I had no idea about. And depending on the team and whatever, docs are just like passion projects. And they're like shining a light on a world that not a lot of people know about. I think one of my favorites I've done, I didn't do sound work for it. I did like some deliverable work. It was United Skates, which is about like the underground roller skating in the US. Yeah, which is unbelievably fun watch. Yeah, really good feels.
Do you as compared to like recording, as far as like being a part of a band, how does that, is there much room for kind of experimentation, for lack of a better word, or is it just kind of like, all right, here's the goal, here's what we want? Like, what's like a typical project look when it like falls in your lap? Like, what's the first thing?
This is awesome. Thanks for asking about this.
Oh,
this
no,
cool.
This is so cool. When I heard this is,
yeah, I have the perfect week for this. So a lot of the stuff that we've been doing recently, we've done like true crime documentaries. We did the Conan travel show that just came out on Max.
No kidding.
Fuck yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
That's a big one. And we do like some Nat Geo stuff like Traffic. So those are kind of your standard. Obviously, some of them are filmed better than others and whatnot. They're not just talking heads, but it's very standardized for the format. You kind of know what to expect. He goes to a scene, you're there for a little while. So there's a lot of like ambiances and like room tones just in case they need to smooth out dialogue and stuff like that, because they record in the wild for a lot of that. And then like lower thirds effects and whooshes and transitions, they all do the slide transitions and whatever. And it's funny, I put that stuff in half the time, they're just like, we don't want to mute them. And I'm like, cool. That was 3 hours. So it is what it is. But recently, we're working on an Ethereum doc. And I get to be way more creative. They have these animated sequences where it's like they're living in this like crypto world. So they really wanted to hit the sound design and like build out like a digital world. You see a lot of lights and grids flashing and shit. So I'm doing sound design on all that. And that's what I got into it for, is the more creative aspect. There was some great exercises we did in college of like, one I'll never forget. They gave us a 30-second like Need for Speed commercial. And my teacher gave us like 13 curated sound effects, like an alligator roar, like a pig squealing, like glass crashing. And he was like, you have to use those 13 sound effects to sound design that whole commercial. And that was like a lesson in like time manipulation, retuning, pitch shifting, seeing how to make a pig squeal sound like a screeching tire, using just effects. So it's really fun. I did a session with those guys yesterday in person. And they just sit in the room, and there's like one scene, there's these giant like kind of robot things. And I was like, what do you guys think, in like a servo machine or like some mechanical like joints? And they're like, yeah, not too transformery, but like in that realm. So it's fun work. I really enjoy the stuff where I get to be more creative. But I'm thankful that I get to do it at all, because the industry is in a little bit of a funky spot right now. Even me, I've now made the transition to freelance. But yeah, so far so good. And if I can make that happen, that was my end goal. Because if I get busier with bands, and if I want to do another band, right, then it's like, okay, might not be able to do the 9 to 5, because I'm gonna need so much goddamn time off. But the freelance stuff, if that was my end goal, so if I can do it a little early, I'm like, sure, we'll see if we can make it work. But yeah, I'm doing some stuff this May. I'm doing some indies, and then I might be doing a feature in June. And that would be a narrative feature, which I haven't done in like a year or two, but that's the go crazy. I think my favorite thing I worked on was Wraith Within. It's like a B horror movie with Michael Madsen.
Oh, no shit. Damn.
Not a great movie. Even the directors knew that. They were like, let's just lean into the fact that it's bad at this point because the budget is dwindling. And it was a blast. I'm just sitting in the bay testing out different gore effects and all that shit. That's fun.
Hey, that's the best, man. Has it found its way into music as well? Like some of that, like your skills in that have
a little bit for sure, because it's all DAW production. For that we use Pro Tools. It's sadly, I hate that it's the industry standard, but when you have like multiple designers or dialogue editors working with a mixer, just makes it easy to share Pro Tools files. But I use FL Studio. I've done a lot of digital production, a lot of independent little silly electronic like video game music style shit. I love Machine Girl, so anything in that realm. And I did a project with my friend Murr, who's in Headstone and he's in a shit ton of San Diego band Sangle. But we did like an industrial digital project, and it was cool because he's an actual like metal worker. So he brought an H4n to work, and he was getting yelled at because he's sitting there like recording grind saws and welding shit. And we just brought in our samples, and then we called up Johnny from Health on the Health hotline, and you can just ask that dude for their stems.
Really?
We were like, can you give us the stems for this song? He's like, yeah, I'll be home in 15 minutes. What's your email? And he just sent them. And we're like, this man is crazy, first of all, for putting a cell phone number on the internet. But yeah, we did a bunch of samples, bunch of sound design. There's like a part of a song where we did the grind saw, and then I went in like I just shattered it with reverb, and it sounds like we're in Saw and someone's cutting my leg off.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm just like, oh, no. So we had fun with that. That was a fun project. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know you have some shows coming up here in June. You're going to be playing Death Over Bakersfield and Cafe Colonial with Hell. Fucking woof, man. Those are some, that's some heavy, like fucking deep, the vocals in that band, nuts.
Matt, is that Matt? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Oh man, Mizmor and Hell are the really big inspirations to us. We're lucky to be friends with those guys. We played with Mizmor last year at the Knitting Factory in North Hollywood, which was tremendous. That band is insane. Because Matt from Hell was playing with them live.
That's right. Yeah. I know they go way back. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last time Hell played here, we all went to see them. It was at Resident, which was, they just sound massive wherever they play. It's awesome. So very excited for that. We've got, Death Over Bakersfield. There's Deadstock in Atascadero. I think Cloud Rat got added to that. And I'm just like, that is so random, but I love that band. So I'm so excited.
That band is so sick.
Yeah, I think I'm going a day early to see them and there's a bunch of local homies on that. We're friends with the brothers from Necropsy, the Foster brothers. They're also all over the place. That Mephitic Corpse, that whole scene is crazy up there. So that'll be good. And then Europe,
which you went to Denmark last year?
We did Copenhagen for Killtown Death Fest. Yes.
What was that like? First time you've been there?
Yeah, that was my first time. I've been to the UK. I had never been anywhere else in Europe. That was unbelievable. Some of the nicest people we've met. Daniel from Killtown Bookings. He is the man. He's the one that booked our Europe run this year. So I think we start in Oslo. I think it's like 9 shows, 11 days, something like that. Don't quote me on that. The flyer is on Instagram. But yeah, that's going to be crazy. Copenhagen was a treat though. Bell Witch was on that. I'm trying to think who else. That fest was fucking crazy. Alonzo played in 2 bands. He played in Apparition. He had to play with Apparition, run downstairs, and play with Civerous back to back. Yeah, that was an unbelievable experience. Some of the nicest people, nicest musicians. Ascended Dead. Oh my god. Yeah. So we're not too busy. We're comfortably busy, as we've been saying. And hopefully, since I'm East Coast and Chicago, I have a lot of friends in Chicago still. I'm like, next year, Midwest, East Coast. Let's
Please,
go.
I would love that.
And we've been talking with some people already, so we will
Sick.
see. That is the goal. We might also look to do another West Coast run next year. Try to keep it more domestic because Europe is a little tough for us. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you kind of mentioned a few things, but is there anything, whether in your own life or as the band or what have you, like what else do you hope to accomplish this year? You started out the year pretty goddamn strong with this record. What do you hope to, by the year end, what do you hope to say you've done?
Yeah, the record has been my silver lining. For me, I need a fucking job, but
Hire this man. Hire him.
Yeah, if I can make the freelance work, I think that's my real big goal right now. The band is kind of already exceeding the goals I think we set this year. The Texas run was really humbling, but at the same time, it like showed us that we're kind of on the level that we thought. And that's awesome. So we kind of just want to keep that energy and just keep bringing it. We're really excited for Wayfair on Friday. That's a huge honor to be on that with them. But yeah, for me, just some goddamn work. Trying to think what else. That's pretty much it. Just chilling. Yeah, get better at drums. Get better at drums always. Never stop playing your damn instrument to anyone out there. Yeah.
Real quick, before we close, I don't know if we usually share like some maybe like a rec, if it's maybe something you've been listening to as of late. I don't know if you have one on hand.
Yes,
perhaps?
let me. I'm a little. The Arizona is hitting. Okay. I'll give you three real quick. We already hit one. New Inner Armor, crazy all the way through. New Full of Hell, also crazy all the way through. And just a fun one because I saw them recently. Peeling Flesh Radio, baby.
Oh man, what an ignorant great band.
Bump that shit, man.
God.
I was so excited for Jesus Peace in the Bog, and I love both those bands to death. I love them to death. I've repped them for years, but I was like, I'm sorry, Peeling Flesh just mopped the stage. Like they just stole the show.
That and like Snuffed on Sight. Like those bands are just so much fucking fun.
That sound. It's just, yeah, exactly. It's just fun. The samples, everything. So yeah, put that shit on. And Challengers, the movie. And the soundtrack, Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross soundtrack. Mwah, chef's kiss if you like some instrumental electronic.
Fuck yeah. I only got one this week. I just because we've been listening to. I wanted something like fun, like almost like a palate cleanser. I put on the turntable the first Municipal Waste record, Waste Them All. Fucking dude.
Like, talk about fun shit. Yeah.
It's like 17 minutes, like 15 songs, maybe 16 with the bonus track. I mean, there's nothing that I feel like during this time, and maybe even for a handful of years after, there was like a lot of these bands that like came out of the woodwork that were like doing the kind of throwback thrash thing. This band, as far as I know, or in my heart, is like the only band that really stood out from that is still standing and still killing it. They're super fun live, but man, if you love some like tongue-in-cheek, just fun, goofy shit, listen to this record. Fucking go listen to this band live. I think they recently, or last year, I knew Nuclear blasted a reissue of this record, and they celebrated its 21st anniversary with a tour. I know they're playing Milwaukee Metal Fest here in a few weeks, May 16th through the 19th, and then they're going to Australia in July. So if you're in the Milwaukee area or you're in Australia listening to this, the Waste are coming to a town near you, man.
I've got one. We've already talked about it a little bit. It's the new Inner Armor record. Just gonna drill that right home.
Yes.
New Heaven. That shit is heavy. It's blackened. It's doomy. It's fucking southern. Like it's all the greatest shit about that band. It's so fucking cool.
Absolutely agree.
Well, Aiden, I can't thank you enough, man, for
Thank
taking
you.
some time out to talk with us. I know you got a lot of cool things coming up, but I wish you nothing but the best this year in 2024,
No,
man.
thank you for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure chatting with y'all. Had a blast.
Well, for Aiden, for me, for Dylan, you've been listening to Riff Worship. We'll see you next week. Peace.